What's up, everybody? This week, oh wait, what the fuck did we even talk about?
Yeah, just use that. Use that one, honestly. Use this one.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Escape Will Make Us Pod. Fuck! This week, we're talking about how Bungie's going to handle the story of Marathon, if Marathon is too hardcore with the inclusion of Raidlike mechanics in a ranked mode, and we talk about some invisibility mechanics and how people are going to be really happy about them. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 4 of Escape Will Make Me Pod. Is that right? 4?
It is 4.
Yes. Somewhere in there.
The 4. Okay. All right. Go.
Nice. This week, it's brought to you by Sekiguchi Genetics. They asked me to tell everyone not to boof the worms, whatever that means. So, great. Thanks for the bag, Sekiguchi. How are you guys doing today, Ryan and Jake? You guys doing all right?
I'm good. My favorite part of this bit is that we never know anything about it before we start. We talk about what we're going to talk about, but we never talk about who the sponsor is until.
I've got a nice little
I did boof
notepad.
the worm in preparation, though.
Oh, that's not great. That's not good to hear.
Unfortunately, my collector's edition did arrive, and I did not follow Sekiguchi's commands there, so my bad. Just give me a heads up earlier next time.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I've got a nice little notepad, and every time I'm just like hanging out, and I was like, oh, that's a good one. Write it down. So I got a couple. We're good.
Write down. Oh, good.
Yeah, anything, we all got our collector's editions this week, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, since last episode.
Yeah, that's like the main. Oh, please go.
My daughter has I gave her the stuffed worm from the April playtest thing, and she was very excited to see the little plastic one that came in the new collector's edition. And comparing them. She wanted me to take it out of the plastic, and I was, no.
Yeah. I've seen people like open them on Reddit, and it's like, why did you do that?
No,
I don't know, just like
the cool packaging.
It's like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So she was like, open it, and I was like, no. No, this one stays with me, and it stays like this. You can have the plushie one.
And the statue, did it surprise you guys how hefty it is?
It's big.
Yeah, it's big.
It's really nice.
The base is heavy. I mean, it's like solid. So I really like. I'm gonna keep saying this every opportunity I get. I hope they make more of those for the different runners, because I think they could do some really cool stuff. So
yeah, especially because they have this kind of format down.
Yeah. And so many of the characters are just pure aura farmers anyways. So it's like, imagine a Rook one, man. Like, oh, so good.
Rook would be peak. Yeah, I mean, they already have the poor Blackbird model as the original runner encased in resin under there. So
true. Yeah.
Easy one to turn back around. I am curious how they're going to, not to be too like money about it, but I am curious how they're going to find ways, because Bungie does that like collector's edition stuff really well and always has. And I imagine they make a pretty decent bag off of those every year with Destiny stuff. So how are they going to continue flexing that kind of thing when Marathon is a live service that theoretically, as far as we know, isn't getting like expansions every year? Like, in what I agree, it'd be cool to have those statues, but how do they deliver them? In that, do they just put up like super expensive statues for big expensive Blackbird statue on the store?
It hits different if it comes with a game code, right? So it's maybe,
or just a package of other stuff
or something. I don't know, but I agree. I think that entire discussion, I know it's such a cynical thing, or like people are very cynical about it for Destiny, but I really love like the physical, like I have like most or all of the Destiny pins and stuff. Like I love that stuff. And Marathon's aesthetic is just so perfect for stuff like that. And I'm excited to see how what sort of, like, do they continue Bungie rewards is there a unique reward that you can buy for if you beat Cryo or whatever? Like, I know people, I'm sorry that we're bringing this up because I know people don't like it, but
yeah, cool. I mean, am I getting an email when I beat Cryo, or am I getting an email being like, get the special banner code if you buy the new shirt this month or something?
Yeah,
the same way they do with Destiny. Like,
are they doing Cryo jackets, like raid jackets?
Oh man, it's like, I don't know. Like, we know so little about that kind of stuff that I'm like, And also, I am very curious to hear when they're going to have the like update cadence and like how they expect people to pay for the game going forward
Mm-hmm.
conversation. Feels like they should probably have that conversation before launch, but
They
maybe
said
they don't want to.
on the official Marathon account, I think, or one of the community managers replied on Reddit saying there would be a roadmap with that sort of information pre-launch.
Okay.
So
Yeah. I knew they'd roadmap. I just didn't know if it would have the
I'm
like.
sure it would have that information. Maybe not. I
Okay.
think you know, I don't want to assume anything because I'm also in the camp like surely the Destiny roadmap comes out pre-marathon, but maybe we're
Yeah.
my batting average isn't great nowadays with that sort of stuff. So
You mean like you would expect that there would be some amount of communication for the update that comes out in less than 30 days?
yeah, exactly that. Yeah.
Can I ask you guys with
Yeah.
the collector's edition?
Please.
Did you guys see the patch? Did you see the patch, the Aleph patch? I feel like that was the most
Yeah.
interesting, out of place thing to me. Very curious.
You think it's just a reference to the Aleph project? It's upside down.
Thank you.
Okay. I mean, my
Dispatch.
insane theory. So it says Aleph 8. Okay.
Yeah.
So and I'm not, maybe my educated co-host here could probably assist me on this, but my understanding is Aleph numbers are different sizes of infinity. Is that a fair description, perhaps?
Dog, I make plastic. I don't fucking know.
So
I was an
like,
English major, so I'm out already.
okay, then I'll take it as the authority on this then. Okay, so Aleph numbers, different sizes of infinity. Okay, it says 8. Obviously, Bungie loves 7. If we count Minotaur, Pathways, Marathon, Myth, Oni, Halo, Destiny. Okay, so coming back to Marathon would be 8. Aleph 8.
8.
Okay, yeah, and Aleph
Oh, we
is
lost
like
Ryan.
an infinity. It's a universe. Aleph is an infinity. It's a universe within itself. Should I wait here?
No, keep going.
It's a universe, right?
Nice.
So this is like, the next iteration of a timeline of reality that we're stepping into at Bungie's. And then also the Aleph, this is a famous short story by Borges, which Greg Kirkpatrick, original writer for Marathon, had referenced in a handful of interviews in original Marathon Findy. The Garden of Forking Paths, a pretty famous short story, but also the Aleph is another short story by him. This point in time and space where you can see the entire universe, at one little area. So I don't know. It's very curious that it was included as a part of the collector's edition because I feel like, obviously, unlike everything else in the package, which is very directly connected to the new presentation of the game, this is something that kind of stands out as something that's very potentially referential to the Aleph 1 project, like you were talking about earlier, which brought Marathon to modern systems over the past 30 years or whatever. But I don't know. It was a very curious little patch and inclusion for me. I like it a lot.
Have you considered the H just a stylized infinity symbol?
There you go. Okay. Yeah.
Are they? Can you hold it back up, Ryan? Mine's in a drawer over there.
Yes.
Is it?
This is
Yeah, I mean they look like they're about symmetrical. The top and the bottom of the 8 could be an.
And the character itself, I believe, is a Hebrew in the Hebrew alphabet. Maybe the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet.
It's got a 1999X on it as well, potentially for like, I guess, referencing Marathon's release years.
Did it say 1999 on it? Is that what
it says? It says 199X, so it's.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
so in the 1990s.
Yeah.
All the Marathon games launched in the 90s, so I assume that. I can't believe that you had all that to say about it, and you were asking if we had anything intelligent to offer.
That was
the thing that I'm the most flattered by.
That whiplash from I don't really know anything about this to going on about different sizes of infinity. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
So
well, listen. I'm sure there's some very smart mathematician here who's probably listening to me stumble my way through explaining it. So there's definitely better explanations, but
they're not on this podcast.
There you go. You're right.
Don't you know especially if you're a part of our demographic, if you have a podcast, you don't ask if you're saying something correctly. You just say you are the authority, Jake.
Yeah.
The comments will correct you and be drowned out later. That's
take what I say as fact. Yes.
Yeah. So good stuff. This week we also got the next Runner cinematic, the Assassin cinematic. super awesome. Before we discuss that, you guys saw the tweet where they were like, "Hey, we're not doing one of these every week. Some of them will come after launch."
Yes.
Feels a little like it was talking about us because we kind of said that. I bet this means there will be a Rook one. So
yeah, now there will be.
Yeah,
Bungie specifically make me look like an ass. First thing that I've been
they're like, don't listen to this Ryan guy. There will be a bunch of cinematics. It won't be every week. And they did say for listeners who didn't catch it or see the tweet, they did say that some of these will be coming after launch. So I'm guessing like they look like they take a lot of work to make, and I'm guessing some of them just probably aren't done yet. Probably.
And to be fair to Ryan, the timing did add up perfectly.
Yeah,
it would have been like a kind of perfect lead up to the game if they chose to do that. But I'm holding out hope that some of the later cinematics are like tied to reveals that we haven't gotten yet, or story content that comes later in season 1 or something, which could be cool.
Yeah, that could be cool. Like maybe there's something with a compiler in it, and they want to wait till you see it in game first or something. Yeah, that could be cool. Oh, it's hailing outside.
Curious.
Nice.
Oh, cinematically, just in general, like I'm curious if any. It seems like they're like what the cinematic angle is in the game, because I have seen a surprisingly kind of obnoxious amount of people look at like the voice cast for the game and be like, oh, maybe there will actually be some story in this game. It's like they have been saying that is like one of the big pillars for them the entire time. But sure, if the voice cast is what you needed to believe it, that's fine. But like,
yeah,
I'm curious what the relationship between the game and cinematics will be, because like in Destiny it makes sense. You get to a certain point in the mission, and then the cinematic plays for your entire fire team. Maybe if you're lucky, unless there's a bug, and then the cinematic gets skipped and you watch it on YouTube later. But in Marathon, like, how does it play like on extraction? If you like successfully extract from cryo, does it play when someone walks into Vault 7 for the first time, but then what happens to everyone else in the match? Like, I'm curious what the relationship between cinematics and storytelling will be in Marathon, because it seems like surely there is more to that compiler cinematic that we've seen. Surely it's not just like for 20-second teaser purposes. So like, how does that play when it shows up in the game? I'm
kind of on copium, like pretty hard with live events and stuff for this game. It's something they haven't talked about.
I hope you're right, dude.
But it's like, it's such a, I don't know how you would approach this genre of game and not be like, we need to capture what Fortnite did. And like, it's something they've historically tried with Destiny, and because of the architecture of the game, it hasn't really landed that well. Both times they tried big things, the game kind of fell apart pretty drastically. So it's like,
you didn't like watching the Almighty crash for 2 hours on Saturday?
Yeah, all the servers crashed for 2 hours, man. That was great. I mean, it's cool. I really appreciate events like that, but I think
it was cool. I wish they would do more of that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I'm hoping this is sort of like Bungie's outlet for that sort of thing. Smaller scale things, way fewer people per map. And if you design the game with that sort of thing in mind, I think that could give you some really, really awesome story beat moments that are directly player driven and have this amazing voice cast. So I really hope they capitalize on some of that stuff. So yeah. Any thoughts, Jake?
I think like event modes, or like you're saying, like specific map, kind of like what Ark is doing with the frozen map, or it's all dusty or whatever. They have different map conditions that'll pop up. I think it would be cool to see something like that. Obviously a little more abstract, a different kind of flavor. Like if you're dropping into Tau Ceti one day, and kind of like what we saw in that cinematic, maybe there's some sort of orbital assault or something going on, and it's like a map condition that you have to deal with. I don't know about like, I maybe I'm not familiar though with what you're talking about, because the only experience I have with the Fortnite stuff is like the Travis Scott concert, which if we're doing a Sabrina Carpenter concert, maybe I could see that in Marathon, but concert event live, or Daft Punk.
I mean, even in Fortnite, like the Godzilla fight was in a real lobby. You had the original Kevin, the Cube, I think his name was Kevin, like rising on the map and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't play those. But.
Well, I just know them because they were like viral moments, right? And it's like Marathon appears to be going very hard for like viral marketing campaign beats. I mean, that's like their entire marketing campaign over the last 2 months is like shorts driven, right? It's shorts, community reaction driven, really hyping on the parts of the game that people really attach to. Fellini, the factions, the cool looking moments for the runners and stuff. So it's like, I think it's pretty clear there's like a viral marketing campaign push here, and I'm just, and as someone who enjoys like all of the psychological science behind that and like the gameplay moments myself, I really hope they lean into that in the game itself. I mean, cryo and end game raid like moments is, as far as we know, like an emulation of the most social side of Destiny, the viral marketing side of Destiny, raid days. And so there's already some of that going to be in the game, and so I hope they continue to push it, because especially for a PvP live service game, they're going to need that sort of stuff to keep the game successful, right? So yeah, so that's kind of where my mind is with that sort of stuff, and hopefully that comes with some really epic storytelling.
Yeah,
I'm just like actively, I know they're not, I kind of hope they don't give us information about it, but also like actively kind of chomping at the bit a little bit. Champing at the bit? I think it's champing. Right?
Chomping.
Is it chomping or champing?
I don't know. Whatever.
Chomp or
Chomping.
champ.
Whatever.
Both sound nice.
It's both sound nice. It's like perfect. I'm excited to like learn what Raidlike is, because they've used that to describe it. I know you've used it to describe it like that for a long time.
The correct phrase is champing at the bit.
Is champing? Look at me. See, that's an English degree, baby. I can't tell you nothing about pH numbers or whatever we were talking about earlier, but I know the difference between an A and an O in idiom. So,
let's go.
Quote on your tombstone right there. There you
yeah,
go.
exactly. But it's been described as raid-like, but I just want to know what that means, and I want to get like,
I don't want
I'm
any
very
info. No info.
I agree with you. That's the best answer, but also like I crave the info at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to know. I want to know. I want to experience it, but more importantly, I want to know. And like I am very curious to have a conversation probably on this very podcast about like what that will look like going forward after we know what cryo even is going to like look like. I mean, generally speaking, from a like the chase perspective, they're being so vague about it, which I appreciate, but also is like we keep talking about raid like stuff, and we would be like wild not to talk about like Vault of Glass being a raid like experience that is the thing that ultimately saved Destiny. Like Destiny would not exist as it is today if Vault of Glass had not come out and popped. And I think Marathon would probably be better as a general experience than Destiny was on launch, like knock on wood, but like the question of like what a raid like thing could be in something like this is the most interesting thing going into this game that I feel like most people aren't talking about. And for all the like distrust that people have around Bungie, some of which I think is fair and some is very much not, like I trust them to hit it home on raid like stuff. So I'm like very 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 curious just to be on the other side. I want to know. I just want to know what it is. I want to know how it connects to that kind of activity, and we just don't know. And it's driving me nuts.
Yeah.
As we like proceed forward, I'm tired of hearing you over like a year say it's raid light, and I believe you, and I just want to know more. Sorry, Jake.
Is it like when you guys obviously have like a much bigger background in Destiny? Is it concerning to you guys when you guys think about like if it is a raid like encounter or they're approaching it maybe in the same idea? I feel like the thing that wouldn't work moving over genres to an extraction shooter is, my understanding is like raids are something that a very small percentage of the community ever takes part in. Is it like 10%? Like, would that be crazy to say that's like 10%
that used
of
to
total?
be the number. I think it's higher more recently, but I don't. It's hard because they have
not like, more recently, not with Desert Perpetual, but
before, pre Salvation's Edge, like the last couple before that, I think it was higher. But
Deepstone, I think, really pumped up the numbers. Deepstone into Root of Nightmares, I think, was probably the most successful.
But is that your expectation that cryo is going to be something that a very small percentage of the player base ever even experiences, or do you think it's something that all players are building up to.
I think Cryo will stand alone as a map with raid-like stuff that is optional that you can do. I think it'll be very similar. Like, I think the conversation that is more appropriate to be having, or the comparison, is actually to like a Call of Duty Easter egg. How many people play, Revelations? How many people actually completed the Revelations Easter egg? I think it'll be much more akin to that sort of thing. Did maybe in zombies, you also have like the small side Easter eggs that are not part of the main raid-like experience or whatever too. So I actually, like, when I very first was able to talk about Cryo publicly, I said, like, I think the raid-like mechanics thing, that's an easy comparison because it's Bungie, but I think from the one mechanic really that I saw that 3 years ago that I don't think is actually like in the game anymore, it was much more of a zombies type mechanic than a Destiny type mechanic. So that's kind of where my brain has been as I'm like preparing for this, like mentally. I'm thinking much more along especially like Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, Call of Duty slant of things, versus Destiny raids. So
gotcha.
It's also just a conversation around like the audience. Destiny it was designed from the ground up to be a like casual console MMO. That was the original goal of like Luke Smith and to capture some elements of World of Warcraft, but on a console and make it a shooter, to do what Bungie does best. So Destiny has always had like a very casual side, and then the hardcore is very much the minority. Like those of us who raid all the time and get a team together, that's like the smaller group of people. Marathon is designed to be more hardcore and more competitive from the beginning. I don't know if that is perfectly squares with like Sony's expectations of it. Obviously, like that's a question that I have. It's like that's been clear from Bungie from the beginning. I don't know if it's clear Sony yet, but like the game is supposed to be more niche than Destiny is. And so in that way I would expect the people that the game draws in who play it to want to go for something like if you're not going for Cryo and going for the end game map, at some point, like, what are you doing in Marathon? Whereas, like in Destiny, I would say if you're not looting up to do the raid, what are you doing? But a lot of other people are like, I do all this other stuff, and I'm like, well, that you're still getting a lot of game out of that. Just because like Skarrow and I view it as the ultimate expression of the game, that a lot of people don't view it that way. I don't think it can possibly be the same way at Marathon. It would feel like stopping like 80% through.
I don't know. Like
game,
I hope it's in a way where it's like more encouraging. Like, hey, you guys should try this type of thing. I still, like I said, like I like with zombies maps. I think there's plenty of great experience to do, even if you're not going for the Easter egg every single run, right? And I think there are going to be a significant number of people that fall in love with the world and aesthetic and lore of Marathon, and are maybe there more for potential live events and stuff like that, the community aspect of it. This kind of plays into what we're going to talk about later with like ranked. I think this game is going to have and like cater to a hardcore audience very intentfully, and I think that's like a like something that is necessary, like a void within this space, the extraction shooter space, especially on consoles. But I think Bungie, obviously you're going to want to cater to as large of an audience as you can without sacrificing the quality of your game. And I would be very shocked if they're not trying to make the game, especially, I mean, even like what we've seen with Perimeter and Dire Marsh, right? Like the difference in those experiences is already quite drastic. Like Perimeter, pretty easy compared to Dire Marsh in a lot of aspects, especially like AI. And I imagine that's going to be like, I think Bungie's going to say like, hey, if you want to stay on Perimeter and progress your character and your factions and stuff, with the exception of some core contracts, you can spend 90% of your time on Perimeter and that will largely be okay. And they will encourage people with keys and with contracts to experience the other maps. But I almost think it would be like, you want to encourage people to go to other maps, but you don't want to punish them for playing in their comfort zone, I would say. That's just kind of where I am with that. But
to clarify really quickly, like when I was talking about Cryo being like more people are going to try it, what I mean is like exactly what you're saying. And I think the zombies comparison is perfect from your part. That's more what I mean is like more people are going to play it's not. I think there could be a Destiny comparison where someone's like, oh, well, it's like playing the raid versus doing the raid quest. I'm like, no, I don't think that's it at all. I'm saying like in Marathon, I think most people will play on cryo at some point. The difference, I agree with you that the small percent is going to be the people who actually do like the Easter egg quest thing on cryo, the opening Vault 7 or whatever that looks like. So in that way, like it's a different relationship than Destiny, to answer Jake's question. So like I think way more people will touch the space, but it probably, I would guess, a similar amount of people will actually do the quest. On the point of like staying on perimeter though, I think just at least from like the April playtest, I don't think I agree with that, because like the game really does push you to go to different maps. Like those priority contracts that were there, at least back then, were like, you need to do this thing on this map. Like if you were not linked up, to the point where like if you weren't linked up with your teammates, you need to just do a different contract until you got them to that place. Because we would reach a point where like two of us were all on Dire Marsh stuff, and we basically were doing side contracts until a friend of ours caught up. Like there, if you want to progress through those contracts, which is the, as far as we can tell, the story of the season, you the game is going to push you into those later maps on a pretty regular basis. So I mean, I think like somebody could play the game over and over again by just dropping on perimeter if they don't want to go to Marsh, or if they don't want to eventually go to Outpost or eventually cryo, but like they're not going to be progressing their account. So it's more of like,
I don't think it'll be
yeah,
unlikely to find people that don't do a lot of the faction stuff, to be honest.
that's probably fair. That's fair. Yeah. To me, that's like the big thing every season. But I suppose like entirely possible that some people just won't do that
Yeah.
and just play it for the love of the game. But
Yeah, they
if
just
you
wanna
want to progress,
kill
like
people.
if you want to progress though, that's gonna push
Classic.
you into contracts. For sure, and which are going to force you to different
like
maps.
for instance, I'm only doing Arachne contracts. I don't give. You think I'm helping? You think I'm helping Traxxas get more powerful on Tau Ceti? Absolutely not. You're out of your mind.
Skin enjoyer.
Yeah. Yeah. So all great stuff. I'm excited to see how they approach all of that. Circling back around 20 minutes later to the Assassin
Long
cinematic.
intro conversation. Yeah.
Pretty sick, right?
Yeah.
So, Jake, which from a lore perspective, from a tidbit perspective that got you excited, do you prefer the Destroyer or the Assassin one?
Oh, from a lore perspective, like if you're actually gaining details about the world, I think I don't really think there's a lot within the Assassin cinematic for us to get. So I have to go with the Destroyer cinematic. But the Ghost in the Shell references, the rain, the feeling of like I am him. I am that badass. I am cool. I am invisible. I am using my knife thoroughly. So on that end, I'm more hype about the Assassin trailer. But I don't think there are a lot of lore tidbits. There is one. This is probably just like a ridiculous reading too far into things, because this one didn't have as many of those kind of details, where at the end there is a like an object, a little decal that shows up on the bottom right of the screen that to me looks like a sword stabbing 5 characters. And so I think there is some kind of crazy theorizing to be done there about potentially Assassin having been, I don't know, consumed, manipulated by the forces on Tau Ceti, maybe Durandal, like we saw in the cinematic, connecting with the music, and that seeping into the other runners, tying that back into the poster that we got of the details from the short, where we saw the green man seeping into the, the people on the bottom after he was stabbed. This is insanity. But I don't think there's anything.
What corner of the screen was it on?
So I believe at the 39-second mark,
Oh my
bottom
God.
right, bottom right of the
Jesus.
screen, for 17 frames, you'll see a object appear from right to left, and I think it's grip, what do you call it, guard maybe on a sword, then blade, then Vandal getting stabbed, right? Because in the cinematic, she too put in the chip, listened to the music, connected to the the pass there, and then behind them the additional runners. Rook not being included, obviously, because he's a prototype runner. But once again, this is just, they didn't give us a lot of details, so I'm just like, oh, what about this thing? What about that?
This is why you don't boof the worm, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to Sakaguchi.
I'm so glad you're on this podcast, Jake. I'm so glad. Like, unbelievable. Okay, for people who aren't Durandal is named after a sword, right? Like that's
the sword of Roland,
like an actual historical sword, or a mythical sword, rather, right?
Yeah.
Or is mythical or historical?
I think it's fair to say mythical because I believe it was imbued with like the cloth of Mary and like the hair of Joseph. Like there was like a biblical component as well. And in the story, yeah. And in the story, I think Durandal is Charlemagne's nephew, perhaps. So like there is like and I don't think that the actual story that they're telling about the battle is true, but that there was like a similar historical conflict. If you go back and you read, I'm drawing a blank on it, right? The Song of Roland is the name of the poem. There's a lot of like classic, like 117, 7 months, there's like a lot of references that you can tell, like, okay, Jason Jones and Greg Kirkpatrick and these people are clearly, heavily, they took a mythology class in college and they were like, oh, this shit's pretty dope, actually. We're gonna tie in a lot.
This is so interesting. I never put all that together, but one of the largest puzzles in the history of Destiny circled around the Sword of Charlemagne with Niobe Labs, and that's so interesting that there's that thread there. I never not a big sword guy, so
well, and Cortana in Halo is named after Cortana, which I don't know as much about. I think it was like a king of England sword. I don't know exactly.
Man, they really do just tell the same story over and over again, huh?
I mean, well, and the Cortana letters, they had an ARG in between. I guess it would have been after Myth or after Infinity. They had like an ARG called the Cortana letters. This is all like documented on the Marathon story page. But it almost seemed like they were pretty heavily setting up that Cortana in Halo was going to be, I don't know, some sort of iteration of Durandal, or very similar in some capacity is what it seemed like. But
well, I mean, and the Marathon itself sticking through Demos, which by the way, I got all of the corrections that it was Phobos in Destiny. I'm a fake fan. Just completely blew up every ounce of like I know what I'm talking about.
No, right. You're a podcaster. That means you're right. They were wrong.
Actually, commenters, it was a fake moon. It was a Shivu Arath war moon anyways. And it was Greenland. So
yeah. But it looks, I mean, there is an element of the Marathon sticking through the moon that makes it look sword-like in a lot of, like, very intentionally. So, like, it seems to be that's the general, I mean, there's like an element of the Pillar of Autumn that kind of looks sword-like, and it's also just phallic generally.
All right, hear me out.
So
okay.
Most sci-fi stuff.
5 years from now, they're spinning down Marathon. Maybe 10 years from now, 15. Bungie doesn't like to let things die. And the final story beat live event, right, where a giant mech in space, the working calculator comes out of the core of Tau Ceti, and we grab the Marathon ship like a sword, and we're sword fighting a chaos god with the Marathon ship. Bungie.
I mean, episode 250 of this podcast talking about that's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Literally wielding Durandal, too, is like a huge kind of, I feel like, well, or maybe the counterplay of like of Durandal wielding the security officer in the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And going back to the Song of Roland, that Durandal, before he dies, he tries to break Durandal. Durandal can't be broken. It's such a holy sword. So yes, to see that come full circle, literally, okay, grabbing onto the lawn Marathon and smashing someone with it, I would love that. I love that. Also, I saw somebody say, this might be another crackpot theory from insane people on the internet, but I saw someone comment that like they had done the math and like calculated that based off the genuine size of Deimos, which I don't remember, and the length of the Marathon, that the Marathon ship itself might be 26.2 miles.
Huh.
Wait, really? Is Deimos that small?
Deimos is very small. Deimos is, I want to say it's like multitude smaller than our moon. It's maybe like 1,000 feet across. I don't know. I don't know exactly.
It is about 7.4 miles across.
It's very small. It's much smaller than our moon.
Bro, that's a fake moon. If Pluto's a fake planet, this shit's a poser, dude.
Why are you coming after Deimos?
Yeah, because I thought it was like a big thing. It's tiny. How many? Wait.
It's still a moon. Listen, this is what Mida wants you to believe. Mida wants you to believe that it wasn't that impressive that the UE. They turned a moon into a ship, dude.
Dude,
it's only 7 miles. It's bigger than the Burj Khalifa. It's in space.
Our moon is 2,200 miles in diameter. And Deimos is 17. Moon. No, that's not an average moon. That's a poser ass moon, dude. That's crazy. Wow. That pisses me off. I'm angry. Fake moon. What about Phobos?
Phobos, I think, is bigger, right? Phobos bigger?
I'm not going to talk about Mars moons anymore. I'm out of my element.
It's also only about 17 miles in diameter at its thickest. Dude, Mars is a fake-ass planet, dude. No one... I'd invade that shit too, man. Oh, my goodness. Why was Mida even mad they were taking the moon? You can't even see it. It's like a speck.
You think that the moon's only value is that the tides could be locked to it? Sometimes the moon, it's just a pleasant thing to look at. It's the
Mars doesn't have water.
Well, I get that's what I'm saying. You're saying, oh, it would affect the water anyways. It's still beautiful. It's the celestial body in our sky.
Dude, I'd size shame Deimos in an instant. Oh my god.
Yeah, no wonder I got him mixed up. Piece of shit.
They're both fake moons anyways. Might as well just whatever.
Interchangeable. Man. Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm sure the people I've seen in the comments who listen to the show to go to sleep are going to love that crash out. For sure. And,
there's always a couple comments that are like, man, Skarrow yells a lot. So good. Okay.
I didn't expect that delightful tangent about the 17 frames in that thing that I thought was just aura farming. That was incredible.
It's pretty good.
I think it was aura farming, to be fair. It was aura farming, as the kids would say. I hope I don't sound too much like Unk saying that, but I agree.
Okay.
I'm the oldest person here, and I already said it, so it's already uncool.
So we've made it through nothing in our talk, and we're 40 minutes in. Okay, so cool aura farming, assassin build crafting. I personally put out a video on this. I'm going through all the characters and putting out a couple theoretical builds based off of the very limited core and implant information that we have publicly. Assassin looks fun. Invisibility as a mechanic. Do you want to spend time? Okay, we can. Do you guys have something to say about that?
I think that's worth talking about.
Okay.
I think it's worth talking about. I don't think it's like crazy. I mean, like generally the coolest thing to me in this entire cinematic is that the more times you watch it, like you can see the subtlety of his silhouette, which is very similar to the invisibility in the game.
At least in the alpha.
At least in the alpha back in April.
I am wondering if they tuned it a little bit, because in the alpha it was pretty crazy how invisible it was.
Pretty. I believe that the term that Kevin Giannis used to describe it to me was "fucking invisible." Back in April. And he was right.
Yeah.
Void was like a problem in the April update to a degree, because it was a lot, and I think it's worth talking about because I see people pretty regularly every time Assassin gets mentioned being like, how on earth does anyone think that invisibility is actually okay for a game like this? And he was annoying when there was only 4 runners available, but when you look at like the rest of the kits of the other characters, I just don't think it's that big of a problem. And especially like you were so limited in the actions that you could take back in the April playtest before you would not turn invisible anymore, that it's like it was mostly honestly his like the smokes are more annoying.
Yeah,
the super smoke ult is more annoying than the invisibility is the actual odds honest truth of it.
Do you guys remember? So one thing they talked about is like the faster you move, the less invisible you are. Like it kind of distorts your invisibility field. I don't remember that being a thing in the alpha.
No, they talked about that in the most recent. I think Kevin was.
Yeah, it was in the most recent Vidoc.
I'm just a lot less.
I'm trying to remember if that is like a new balancing thing they did, because thinking back to the alpha, I think you were always the same amount of invisible, which is either you're invisible or you're not. And I don't remember there being a spectrum, or at least not drastic enough to notice. But it's in the gameplay, it seemed pretty drastic.
it was a silhouette and it hit the heat up pretty quick back in the alpha, so you couldn't stay in it for forever. But like, it was still like, yeah, it was hard to see. It's not Destiny Invisibility where it's just like you lose track of it. But this time it seems like I mean, I wonder if them pulling away from some of the mouse magnetism stuff that was in that April playtest allows them something we also didn't talk about last week was the changes to the signal jammer item,
Mm.
which was like after they changed the mouse magnetism was basically useless back in the April playtest because the whole point of it was that it wouldn't cause any kind of mouse magnetism while you were aiming. So I'm wondering if maybe them pulling back from that original idea has allowed them to make Void less invisible. Because you know what I mean? Like it's when it's full invisibility, like with the mouse magnetism, it creates a different play. I don't know. Does what I'm saying make sense at
Yeah,
all?
yeah. It's like it's easier to accidentally see them because you're kind of if you look past them, you're kind of
Yeah.
stuck on them. Yeah, I mean that in Destiny, invisibility breaks your mouse magnetism too. So that's like where that
Yeah.
and controller aim is. Sorry, not mouse magnetism. I meant controller aim assist. Like if it was a big problem when Destiny 2 first launched, because you could go invisible way more with your class ability, and then it would just break your controller aim assist immediately. And so it is a little bit of a huge advantage that people don't really talk about. So, yeah. Thoughts, Jake?
It yes, please.
I think it's fair that people are like hesitant because the thing that feels bad in an extraction game is getting killed and feeling like it was unfair. And in terms of abilities that cause you to go, that wasn't fucking fair, invisibility is pretty high up there. But I think they're trying to make a very competitive game in how like the mechanics work. And I think there's a lot of competitive games that have invisibility features and they're balanced properly. I nothing that they've shown and nothing that I've experienced in any public thing that I can talk about has ever. I've never felt like Void was like problematic. Even in the even back in April where you guys are saying it was more. I didn't feel like I was getting ganked by voids in a problematic way. Maybe that
No.
changes with like a solo mode, but with how much focus they're putting into balancing and build crafting and like the really what are the raw mechanics of this game before the experience of actually playing it. It seems like something that they probably put a considerable amount of time into making sure felt decent.
Yeah.
The thing I hated the most about fighting Void in the April update, and the thing I would categorize as a problem for him, is I think probably primarily solved with what we've seen is the bag lockout, the res lockout mechanic. Because the issue used to be with Void was that basically like if you knock somebody from a distance and they have a Void on their team, there's just there is no moment where you can encroach on them at all. You can't do anything about it. It's just like if you're doing it, you cannot have a long distance fight with a Void because he will just smoke and make everybody invisible, and it's very you do enough movement in the game that it's very difficult to actually pin down the exact location of the body and finish anything off. But with bag lockouts now, um, if you actually manage to
And
finish somebody off,
for
which will still be
people listening,
yes,
that means if you get full killed, there seems to be some sort of delay before you're able to get rest based off of
they've
some
confirmed
comments.
that.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
didn't talk about like how long it is or anything, but
sure.
Yeah.
there is some sort of delay before you're able to res your teammates if they get fully killed.
Yeah. You can't instantly do it, which you could in the April update. And so the
Mm-hmm.
problem is that like you full drop somebody and then they're back on the ground and then Void goes in on his smoke and reses the bag and has more than enough time. Usually resing the bag took a lot longer, but it still took less time than a smoke takes to go away. So now with that lockout, assuming it's even something like 60 seconds, that gives you time to like rush the point. I was thinking specifically the center of Dire Marsh. What's the POI at the center of Dire Marsh? I cannot remember
The
the
Algae
name for
anomaly.
some reason.
bonds.
Yeah, ponds. Thank you, algae ponds. In algae ponds, there's a tower, and that tower is like a really good vantage point. And I had multiple encounters in April where a team that had one or two voids would be up there, and you would get a sweet snipe. You take someone out, and you just couldn't even move in on them at all because by the time that you got back up there, that void has smoked the bag and gotten that person up, and it's a 3v3 again. And you're trying to take high ground from ladders, and so it just doesn't work. Like that was Void's problem to me back in the day, and I think that's potentially something that is like the invisibility wasn't the big issue. It was like it's more of a way to escape, and it's more of a way for him to be a good solo runner where you can kind of infiltrate a little bit. But I mean, we've already talked about how Thief and Recon have similar benefits on the solo front now. I I don't foresee Void being the problem that everyone says he is. I think a lot of the ways the game has theoretically changed around him will make it less favorable for him in than in the April update. I don't think they were his problems. There were more issues with the game that exacerbated some of his more frustrating aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah, agree. Big agree. And he might be good for, he'll be good for solo players, might be good for certain raid-like mechanics. Like in zombies, there's always, gobble gums or things that take away aggro for a couple of seconds are always really powerful for doing certain things. So depending what sort of stuff they have us do, might be good to have a character that breaks aggro like that. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I think he does suffer from the same thing as like Recon, where his going invisible is really good for starting engagements or getting away, but it's less useful like directly mid engagement. And
Yeah.
Dropping smokes and making people confused and that sort of stuff always very useful, but only in a very like specific type of environment. And so just like with all marathon runners and everything in marathon, there's going to be a give and take there where you're just going to be inherently at a disadvantage in certain scenarios if you choose to play this character. So I think higher skill floor, lower skill ceiling type of character.
Yeah. Without explosives, though, he can basically guarantee an exfil for your squad, which is huge. As well, because of his smoke ult. If you combine a couple different things together, if you can get inside the circle, you're basically golden for those 10 seconds. It's very difficult. Even if you know theoretically, like if you get a couple hit markers, it's very difficult to deal enough damage in enough time to a group of people who are in a smoke to stop them from exfilling.
Because you have to down them and kill them. So
Yep.
Alrighty. The next thing that we wanted to talk about is probably the big discussion for this week: the ranked system.
Yeah.
This is something that maybe it seems like a lot of people forgot was happening within Marathon, but it was actually one of the things that Joe Ziegler was like very adamant would be a defining characteristic of Marathon, is this ranked or rated mode, as they called it. This description's from Steam. I actually didn't know it was interesting. I didn't know that. So I guess on the Steam
and I believe that's been in there since December when they updated it.
Really?
Whenever the Steam page went up, and maybe when you could do pre-purchase or maybe wishlist or something, I don't know.
The quote I guess from the Steam page is later in season 1, so not right at launch, compete in a rated mode to measure your skill and build a name for yourself. To me, they probably just don't want this to compete with Cryo. Is assuming that's why it's later. They're probably going to do a staged rollout of certain aspects of the game where they want and especially because rated and Cryo, especially like the raidy stuff, they're targeting essentially the same core audience, right? And so it's probably like, hey, do this first and like learn the game and stuff. I imagine. I am curious if rated is going to be, because COD does this, I believe, with their ranked mode. If it's going to be a delayed release every season, and it's like, hey, for the first 2 weeks of the season, you focus on the new stuff, and then hey, ranks out, and you can kind of like they do with Trials in Destiny, very similar. Very curious. What do you think about the public? I do want to discuss like my opinions and have a bigger conversation about where a ranked mode fits in a game like Marathon, but initial reactions to like public perception of this, what do you guys feeling for the rated mode?
I think it's an interesting spot to be in because I feel like the extraction genre as a whole is already seen as such a hardcore type of game. You're losing all of your stuff. It already has what I feel like, if you're just like a very, you're a casual gamer, I would already view the extraction game as like playing a ranked mode. You're gonna play it with that level of intensity because it has a very real impact how you do this match. Whereas if you're playing like a casual TDM or something, like win or lose, maybe your KD goes up or down, but like at the end of the day, you're still getting experience, you're moving on, whatever. So it is cool to see someone trying to bring that into the extraction genre. And like you're saying, it's probably going to attract the same kind of audience that is like looking for this kind of in-game experience. And also, I think extraction games as a whole, if they don't have, a significant amount of content like Tarkov does, where even some of these like, full-time Tarkov streamers haven't necessarily finished or actually escaped from Tarkov yet because it's just an abundance of stuff to do. It's interesting to see them kind of introduce that maybe as like an in game for very serious people. And I'm sure the opportunity to like have rewards for them that are unique. I don't know if that would be like skins or something like that, or maybe it's just the saying, you have whatever the highest rank is.
Yeah.
But I do think it's something that they're clearly trying to like sell to the competitive audience that are probably going to be surrounding this game as it gets closer to release, and people realize that the competitive nature of this game is something that makes it kind of stand out, especially in the current market of extraction games that people are playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was in the can for a lot longer than the Arc Raiders' success, but in a lot of ways that I think are just kind of working out. The success of Arc Raiders and its kind of reputation as the more, like a more casual and friendly experience, like has actually created a situation where this makes even more sense to help them differentiate. I don't think the games are as similar as a lot of people kind of compare them to be, which is maybe just because I like what I played of one of them, and I don't really like Arc Raiders very much. But the point is, Arc Raiders is seen as like a more casual experience. Like people took a genre that is typically, like Jake was saying, very hardcore seeming, and made it where it's something a lot more friendly and a lot more chill, generally speaking. So now Marathon is pushing even further into the idea of being like, well, now we have a ranked mode on top of our already more hardcore game. I think is like asking for people who are wanting to really test it and put in like, I would like something that is more competitive and more difficult and pushes me more and like gives them an actual place to test it, to the point where like I kind of imagine that they would probably do what they did with Trials of Osiris every season, and I would be surprised if ranked launched day and date with each season. I think it's something that will probably go on hiatus for time because people will want to get through the contracts and get to like get loot or whatever to get ready.
Your
I mean, in
seasonal
talking,
upgrades and stuff.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I can't imagine the amount of, at least with how they were in the April update. I can't imagine going into ranked mode and just having like less heat than somebody else. Like that's going to
Yeah.
be devastating potentially. So, I mean, it's the kind of thing where I mean, I was talking to a friend of mine about it yesterday, and it feels like the type of thing where it will either be, um, I finish all the contracts and then go, hey, we still want to play Marathon. Do you guys want to try out some ranked stuff? And it's kind of an afterthought at the end of the season, and we see how far we can get with our stuff, just because we want to play the game more, or it becomes the central focus of what we want to do every season, and there's like no middle ground between those two things. So I'm very curious to see where it falls.
Yeah. And I guess just to kind of expand this conversation a little bit and clarify a little bit, like we're very obviously very limited information, and this is leaked information supported by some stuff that Joe Ziegler has said publicly, and that was months ago. So who knows what has changed?
Yeah.
But it seems like the general idea is some sort of ranking system, reputation system that a lot of competitive games have that is heavily dictated by the amount of valuables you bring into a run, and you're like gated, like you have to, your rota has to be like worth something. You go in, and then whatever you extract out with, if it is more valuable than what you went into the game with, then you gain reputation based off of that. And so a core idea of trying to just get as much loot as possible, based off of what we have played and like the public playtests and stuff. Generally, the best way to get higher value items is by killing other people. It's not like really looting the world. And so this seems to be sort of the answer of like, because I think in like in the April playtest, there's a lot of conversations of like some teams just wanted to PvE a lot with some PvP, and then some teams just wanted to roll other teams. And this really seems like if you're looking for that PvP side of Marathon, you want like a true incentive to go do that. and you're looking for people that are very like-minded in lobbies who will engage in that sort of behavior, seems like it'll kind of happen into this environment. Now, the one thing I'm kind of nervous about, and I can talk about this a little bit, is when the very first time I played Marathon in October of 2024, they were testing a version of this that was like, they weren't happy with the results from our playtest, so they took it away, and we haven't seen it since. And essentially, it just turned into us camping the key rooms, waiting for people to come in with keys, killing them, taking their stuff and their keys, and then getting the high value stuff and extracting. And it was like it was like an entire day of that. My team came in first. I was Alaskan Bullworm because my team had all SpongeBob themed names internally. It's pretty sick. And we were the first team to find out that sort of, I don't want to say exploit, but like that gameplay style. And it was pretty boring. I'm not going to lie. It was like, hey, we're just going to camp here at Greenhouse because we knew in our playtest they gave everyone those keys so that you could see what a key room was like. So we just camped it. And so it was not necessarily promoting more good PvP. It was just like camping gameplay. And they were very obviously not happy with that result. And so I'm curious to see how they have changed up the entire system. And everyone not having keys is obviously going to help with this. And honestly, if you have a key to use, you're probably not going to bring it into rated. You're going to bring it into a regular gameplay, a regular version of the map. But I'm curious to see how they've kind of tuned the relationship of players and loot and that sort of thing. Like in rated mode, are there maybe more players per map? I think that would be a cool thing that they could do, make it more deadly. Are the AI like turned up to 11? Like, how do they manipulate the mode to make it so you are constantly moving and on your toes, and your chance of survival is even less? And to the other side of that, how do they make it so if that, if this is a much more brutal mode, if you die, you lose all of your stuff and you lose rank, how do they still make it feel worth your while? I think there are a couple of aspects that they're really going to have to work on here to not immediately turn people off of this, because it's something that they've had a lot of difficulty with, especially in the last 5-ish years in Destiny. No one really plays comp except for the 10 people who want the seasonal emblem. And I have to imagine this is a primarily cosmetic chase. And so it's like, how do you get people to engage with this? And how do you make it a very fulfilling and rewarding system in a way that people respond well to?
Yeah, and that is complicated by the fact that it is in this genre, because kind of like what in Trials, which is what Arc Raiders kind of like ranked system is, it's not a separate mode. So like your trials are just, you have 3 goals, or maybe it's like loot this type of thing, damage this type of enemy or something, and you have to be in the top 20 or something each week against 100 other players you're randomly grouped against. And so if you're in the top 20, you go to the next rank. I think if you're in like the top 5, maybe you go up 2 ranks. And so to get the highest rank in the season, you have to progress every week. So but that doesn't, I think one of the problems is that like it doesn't include everything that is success in this game, because like success in a run could be extracting, it could be getting high loot, it could be getting a lot of kills. Like ultimately, I
Faction
think that they have,
progress, lore
yeah,
progress. Yeah.
yeah. It's like they have to somehow incentivize or take into account all of the success factors in the ranked mode. Like there has to be, like if you get a bunch of kills, that's valuable, but it's not the only thing. You know what I mean? What if you
Yeah.
looted X value more? What if you were in raid longer? What if you killed more AI bots? So finding the balance of like assigning a value to all of those things collectively, and then coming up with some kind of number from that to assign a rank. It seems very complicated, but maybe I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they implement it.
Yeah, I mean, what Jake is getting at is the thing that actually has me the most excited for it, which is like, I did not think I would care that much about this, and then the leak happened, and I was taking a look at it, and I was like, okay, making this the decision to make the entire assuming it plays out the way that even a little bit like the leak is suggesting, and if you want to go and look into the whole thing, all of it's out there, you can find it.
Mhm.
But the idea of it becoming economy based over anything else in terms of like how you were rated is to me the best and most interesting decision that they could theoretically make here, because if it becomes about combat, then it's not, even as somebody who primarily plays Marathon is like I'm gonna go hunt people down if I hear them type of game. It's that becomes less unique and less interesting, and then it's just this. It's a ranked mode in every other shooter. But if it's economy based, which is what it sounds like it's going to be, then that does what Jake is talking about. It helps encompass everything. Then you are rated not like to me when we were having the whole like mouse magnetism conversation back in the April playtest, like is connected, I promise. My friends and I were like, I don't doesn't really bother me because what it does is it suggests that like the most important thing to Bungie is not kill skill. It's not mouse skill in Marathon. It's like what makes it interesting is that it's more about like there are a lot more ways to succeed. It's about your map knowledge. It's about your runner knowledge. It's about your knowledge of the various items and the enemies. And like mouse skill is a part of it, but it's not the be all end all like it is in a game like Counter Strike or Rainbow Six or something like that. Now, I think it's ultimately a good thing that they took the mouse magnetism way back and they've made it more about like that Twitch shooter skill. But in a ranked mode, it's endlessly more interesting that where the top ranked people are not just the best shots in the game. Like I would not want that to be the case in something like Marathon. I want it to be a thing where a team where maybe the best decision is like you hear a giant fight happening at Algae, and where in normal you might run towards that, there's a reality where your team goes, I have not heard anybody at quarantine this entire time, and we hear people at Algae. Let's go loot the shit out of quarantine, get everything that we can, and see if we can get out while everyone is distracted, and we could potentially get enough economy that we earn points. And like if you move around the map intelligently and extract, like that's ultimately what the game is about, is surviving and extracting with the most value that you can. And we just treat it like it's combat because like you said, players are the most efficient roving bags of loot that there are. And the idea of having forcing players to come in with a certain amount of loot makes that more appealing, but because you know you're going to get something every time you kill somebody. But I love the idea that you could theoretically ignoring combat is not something that or trying to be safe is something that is would be potentially rewarded by an economy based system where it would be punished by something that only possibly awards aggression. So like to me, like exactly what you're getting at, Jake, is like the thing that is the most enticing about it and what I think would potentially make it work a lot better than what I would initially have imagined it would have been, is like get the most kills in a match or be the last survivor or something.
Yeah, it's got to be good rewards though. That's so important
Yeah.
to all of this. So we'll see how they do that. I mean, Halo kind of helped define good rewards with the flaming helmet back in the day, and it's like you gotta pull some punches there, or you can't pull any punches there. So
yeah. The question that I would have around this, though, for you guys, which I know is a whole thing around arc raiders as well, is how would you want the matchmaking to work in a rated mode? Where
just rank
like,
based, pure rank based. Let it be ladder.
Really?
Yeah.
I disagree.
Why?
I think genuinely for this normally I would agree. Like in a game like when Jake and I launch our Deadlock podcast, we'll talk about this I'm sure. But in something like Deadlock or like League of Legends or whatever, like I think a ranked based, purely ladder based matchmaking makes sense. In something like Marathon, I think I would rather it be blank, like just a ranked matchmaking pool, and
just
then
random,
because just random because
just connection.
Well, or just the same. Basically, just treat it like two different matchmaking pools.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're in normal matchmaking and you're doing Dire Marsh, or you're in ranked matchmaking and you're going Dire Marsh. Because again, I think it like that would in that type of matchmaking, it would reward the most consistent players. Like that's you rank up by being consistent in your matches because you can like sure someone could theoretically luck into it, but like you're going to eventually find your way into a match where you're playing against high ranked players and you got to not get got. So like it's not going to allow people who are like lower skill level to still reach that top. They're still going to have to end up in combat. But if you make it to where it's purely ladder based, then you take away some of the core mystery of the game's combat, which I think is very important. what I mean by that is like one of the best aspects of Marathon in like the April update is trying to do the mental math and the mental like gymnastics that even Rook throws an even theoretically, I guess, throws an even bigger monkey wrench into, which is like, am I alone? How many teams are there on the map? That's really important. Having a situation where you drop into the map and you're in diamond or whatever, and so you know every other player on the map is diamond, drastically changes how you will play. And it drastically changes your interest and your ability in going up against combat. If you drop into a match and you're confident that you're a high ranked player and that you can take on combat, then it becomes much more interesting because then maybe you go, okay, we're gonna go hunting players. And in a reality where you're climbing a ladder and you know you're a high ranked player, it's just gonna be that's gonna be every match. Is you're gonna go, well, from bronze till gold at least, we're just gonna go hunting because we know we're better on average than every other player. And then you start to go more massive when you get to diamond. In a world where it's random, it keeps that tension that I think is really important to a match where you go, yeah, we could go hunting players and we could statistically we're likely to run into people who are worse than us because we're diamond players or something. But then there's always that chance that you could run into somebody who is drastically better than you. And that's the fear. My team did very well in the April playtest. We had a very high extraction rate, but like there were in the April playtest there was a really high amount of like very skilled streamers, and like I ran into Drewski like 5 times, and he kicked my ass every time. And I'm still mad about it because he also stole my exotic backpack at the Bungie event in April. So I'm still mad about it, and we kept running into him, and like that, he was somebody we just couldn't take. He was just better at us at every level, even though we were better than most other people. And on a ladder-based system, if I'm in gold, I know I'm never going to run into Drewski. So I'm just going to go into combat every time because
fair.
I think I'm probably low ranked. You know what I mean by that? And I like the idea of being like, I could run into somebody who's a total shitter, who this is their first ranked match, and just steal all their shit. Or I could run into somebody who's a drastically higher ranked than me. And I think in a game like this, that mystery is like the more important than a pure like then it just becomes shooting skill, right? Then like it becomes less about the intelligent movement, and then the best ranked players are always going to be the players that have the most cracked shot ability, and that's fine.
It's better for the viewer experience too, because it's not, if you watch like a lot of these high end, like especially battle royale, like tourney style stuff, it's a lot of ratting, which is not very interesting to watch. But yeah, I definitely, I can see what you're talking about. I don't disagree, I suppose. Well constructed argument.
Thanks.
Anything to add, Jake?
Nah, bro, I'm ass at video games, so like whatever rank they do, I'm gonna be at the bottom. So I'll be in the gutter with all of you guys. Come on now. Yeah. No, not you guys, but the ones who I'm referencing, they know who they are. Don't worry, we'll fight it out at the bottom for scraps. We'll figure it out.
It's I think it's important to note, because I think I've seen a lot of the discussion around this also be like, oh, Marathon's going to be too hardcore. This is a single like game mode or type of play in the game. It is not going to even be it's not the default. It will no way it'll be the most popular for the player base. Maybe for the viewer base, but not for the player base. And so it's it's one of those things, like, keep in mind, there are aspects of Marathon that are like brutal for sure, but Bungie's not going to make something that's just not approachable, because that's not how you make a successful game typically. So
for sure.
Timeline stuff. We have, well, how many weeks do we have left? 4 weeks?
Yeah, under 30 days.
Oh,
yeah,
21
days.
Or 4. Oh, is it 4 weeks from, what day is it?
The 6th of
it's
February.
The 6th today, and it comes out on the 5th. So less than a month at this point.
Oh my gosh, we're getting so close. Yeah, so we know we'll likely get, they're really ramping up with all of these faction vendor stuff. We've gotten half of them so far, 3 of them, and there's 7.
Yeah, we got Traxxas, Cyacne, and Arachne.
Okay, so they're probably doing a couple of those per week. State of the play rumored for 2 weeks.
The 12th, I believe.
Or next week.
No, it'll be next week.
12th.
Okay, State of the play rumored for next week. Sick. So hopefully something.
If my prediction goes is possibly correct, by the time we record next week, the playtest could be live.
Oh shit! Yeah, if they launch after the state of the play, we'll see.
Launch after state of play.
I don't know. No, fuck. I mean, I'm so worried that we're gonna get so hyped to see Marathon this state of the play, and they're just gonna talk about freaking Wolverine the whole time or whatever. I don't know. So even a PlayStation
again, if
game,
there's a state of play, I genuinely cannot imagine a world where it's not there.
I hope you were right. Like, I genuinely can't imagine a world where they release Marathon without putting out a Destiny roadmap, but here we are. So,
I mean, one of those games is 9 years old, and so like I imagine Sony may not be putting the same amount of weight behind it. Sony is tweeting out like every major trailer that drops. Sony is also tweeting it from their personal.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's no way
they got the controller and the headset. They've been doing Sony tie-in stuff. Yeah.
There's no reality where we get a state of play between now and Marathon launch, and Marathon is not there.
Yeah.
There's a reality where we don't get a state of play. I don't think it'll happen, but if we get one, it will be there. There's just no chance.
Yeah.
I genuinely no chance.
And I hope. I mean, we're less than a month away. ARG time? Question mark? Maybe something.
Surely they were just like prepping that with the DAC stuff, right? Why would they even go through the hassle of doing new contracts and right? If they weren't going to do something, and all the websites are down, they have the updated stuff. I think
and the map website that we talked about last week, it's just like it's too much. It's too much. That looks like it's something. We'll see. Hopefully, I mean, it's going to start. These next 4 weeks are going to start going so fast. I think it'll be slow because we're waiting, but I think the marketing is going to be relentless, and I'm pretty excited for it.
I am surprised that we haven't gotten another one of those spotlights. I would have pegged that we would have gotten one. This week, but I think it's possible. Like maybe this is copium, but it's possible that they're waiting for the playtest that they're confident in, and the big. I know Sony's. I think one of Sony's executives on a board call like earlier this week. I don't know the full details on it, so but said basically that after doing playtests, they're very confident in Marathon now, and obviously they're going to say that they're talking to investors, but that's notable considering that they also were like signaled that they weren't exactly super pleased with the acquisition a couple months ago. So that's significant. If Bungie's confident, they could basically be waiting for a big trailer to hit its state of play, doing the playtest weekend, and then starting to do more of those like Vidoc style videos, assuming we are getting more of those like we think. Like
I don't think a Vidoc's a bad idea for a state of play either, though. Like that could be
There's no way they do a Vidoc at a state of play. They could do like a stay tuned after.
Why not?
For my Marathon Vidoc.
Like they for the Marvel game from the last state of play had a Vidoc type trailer where they were interviewing devs and stuff. The Japanese one or whatever they were doing. The Gundam Marvel one. They went to that studio and they were like interviewing all of the devs and stuff. There's a ton of FaceTime for that one.
I mean, they do stuff like that for like the way Xbox is like partner showcase thing that they do. They do more Vidoc style stuff back to back. I think Bungie's are too long, and I think honestly, Marathon is probably, even with Bungie wanting it or Sony and Bungie wanting it to be a huge success, I think it's probably too niche to get something like that. I would love them to subject everyone to a Bungie Vidoc. I think it's more likely that we get a big cinematic trailer with some gameplay spliced in between it, and then if there's a Vidoc, I could see them being like, gameplay live now. Stay tuned after the show for Vidoc or something like that. I don't think we get a full I don't think there's any way we get a full 12-minute segment. It would be cool.
You guys need to bet a gold core on it.
Oh, what?
Skarrow's right. If Skarrow's right and we get a little Vidoc at the state of play, you owe him a gold core, Ryan. And if it's just a cinematic,
gold and he can hold on to it for one game and then it'll come back to my bag.
All right, let's do it. I'm done.
That's fun to make.
I guess we'll find out. Yeah, I'm excited.
To get a glitch core that I'll never use.
Yes. All right, Marathon Minute time. Marathon Minute, where marathons for a minute and Jake and stuff.
Hell yeah. What an intro. Beautiful.
It's definitely a Friday afternoon recording show.
Yes. Ryan's going to tell...
That is the energy I'm bringing.
Tell Jake to explain something very well in a minute. Bam. Marathon Minute.
Okay, we talked about it a little bit earlier when we were talking cinematics, but it started to feature quite a bit more heavily in the marketing, and obviously they're one of the most iconic enemies in the game from the original Marathon. But there's a lot of interesting like friend versus foe dynamics. I would love for you to get a little bit into talking about the Sfit or the compiler class of enemy, and more specifically like maybe what this one, where they end up, and why this one could potentially be in cryo. That's a lot.
And I want you to give it a name.
Wait, give
Yeah.
the Sfit and Cryo a name?
Yeah.
Okay, very well. We can do
Is
that.
that part of the 1 minute? Is that part of the time?
That's part of the 1 minute.
Okay.
I'll give you 5 extra seconds to give him a good name.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
Yes.
Go.
Okay. Lahawan, a planet far from here. Don't need to get into it too much. Aliens, known as the Sfit, live there. Brought there, formed by kind of a gray area based on myth, the Yarrow, tied into all that. They're like part biological, part computer. They're geniuses. In the 1800s, so while stuff is going on over here, stuff is also going on in Lahawan. The Four show up. They enslave them, unfortunately, and they become their slaves for 1,000 years until the Four arrive in Tau Ceti, thanks to the message sent by Durandal. Durandal realizes, hey, these little floaty around fellas that shoot the laser beam out of their chest and have these sick capes are kind of like me. They're a little bit computery as well. So he teams up with them, goes, hey, I'll take you back to your home planet and get rid of these four guys. They team up, go to Lahawan. A bunch of stuff happens there. But now they're pretty helpful towards humans, generally, not necessarily the bad guys in the original game. But now we're seeing them maybe as an enemy, at least some of them still in Tau Ceti. And we've seen one featured, and his name is Gerald.
Gerald, got it. Perfect.
Pretty good.
I think it's really interesting because yet again, like a reoccurring Bungie story theme is a large, dominant militaristic species that expands its species by adopting and conquering other species. So the Cabal in Destiny, the Scions are not part of the base Cabal race.
Yep.
Or
the Covenant Covenant are literally all like contracted race or conscripted or enslaved races under the leadership of the prophets. Like
so for all of our Halo and Destiny heads, do you think a fair comparison is that the Four are the Cabal and the Yarrow are the compilers, or the Yarrow are the fucking Forerunners?
The Forerunners, yes,
Forerunners, yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that as a wider question because like the Yarrow
save it for next week. No, I'm just kidding.
This needs more than a minute. The Yarrow are a thing that I'm, as somebody who's played a couple levels of Marathon, I'm familiar with the Sfit, I'm familiar with the Four, but the Yarrow, you said those are like Forerunners, right? So that's like a predator, like but they seem more tied to like the work packeter. Like what's the deal with the Yarrow in like what's the pitch?
Yeah, Yarrow, ancient hyper advanced alien races, all of the like super cool technology, warping planets in and out of systems, blowing up stars. That's Yarrow technology that the Four had found later on. They kind of disappeared at some point. They're talked about a lot in Marathon 2, and then obviously Marathon Fendi, it ends on a Yarrow station where you can kind of create a gravity field, which is super rad. But ancient, highly advanced aliens had some part in creating or bringing the Sfit to Lahawan originally. But I personally am under the belief that like generally the concept was that the Forerunner and the Yarrow were ancient aliens that were actually just humans, and that humans had some sort of lineage to the advanced race in the past. And then that was kind of like supposed to be, I think, the thing in the end of Halo 2 that got switched around. So that's kind of my perception of them, is that they're like this very advanced, kind of probably had their hands in a lot more of what's going on than most people realize today, and have left behind a lot of very dangerous toys for people to stumble upon and blow up stars with.
Also, the Yarrow live in pyramids, and Bill Clinton is around.
Or
was it Clinton or was it Reagan? Which president was it?
It was Clinton. Working Cactunder though was under the temple.
Yeah, but weren't they Yarrow artifacts?
Well, a Yarrow diplomat shows up. They could have been.
Okay. Sorry. I got ahead. That's Pathways into Darkness 2, Bungie's new IP coming out in 2035. That's my bad.
That's in the
just,
Pathway sequel is actually a visual novel dating sim RTS game.
Yes,
So
right.
people are going to be
right.
excited about that.
Yes. You get to court a couple working characters for sure. So.
Yes, and it's very complex. A lot of like
Very.
interpersonal dynamics there. Yeah,
Lots of chaos, you could say.
And more importantly, we couldn't get through an episode of the show without talking about someone in the Epstein files. So,
Oh Jesus!
Nicely done. That's our Greenland, our January 6th of our. We gotta hit something along the way around.
Look, man, Bungie games used to be wild. I don't know what to tell you. Like I didn't put him in Pathways into Darkness. It came out well before I was born. Like I'm just telling you what happened. You know?
Well, for God, that sucks.
Like 94. When was Pathways?
92 or 93,
92.
maybe.
I'm a 97 baby.
94 was Marathon.
97.
Yeah.
God, yeah, 90 Marathon's as old as I am. I'm 94. Brutal.
Jeez.
Brutal.
Good stuff.
I'm 17. So.
Okay, nice. yeah.
All right.
The part of Marathon I'm definitely most excited for is how because it's I love the concept of like we all know that aliens exist, but they don't in the game, and we're getting there, and season 1's going to be a lot of human interplay minus whatever else they decide to do, what they tease. But I think the subsequent seasons are going to pop off, and it's going to be pretty crazy. So yeah. I'm excited for Svit and obviously mostly for interactions and to see what if they ever do. Because surely, like the Yarrow, pretty underused-ish, I would say, similar to Forerunners in the Bungie games, in the Bungie Halo games. So, I'm curious.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. If my memory is incorrect here, but on the faded bad stream with the Joes after the art thing happened, they talked pretty explicitly about the idea of an alien race. What I would guess, like an alien faction, the Four was like not so big, coming in like quite early as like a post-launch thing. Like I would, based on what they said, it seems like I would be surprised if the Four did not show up like in 2026 at some point.
I think that is a compiler reference, Ryan. I don't think that's. I would not get
really.
Yes, I do think that they did say something like aliens are coming or something, but yeah, I think they're probably referencing.
I thought it seemed like they were talking about this faction, like more because people were talking about wanting a faction other than the UESC, and they were like, we're not talking about it, but there are aliens out there, and they're gonna. I don't know. They seemed very much. I would need to go back and watch it, and I don't want to go back and watch that stream again. So I could go back. I could. I remember watching some YouTuber named Skarrow talking about it, and I believe the conversation was about the Four eventually coming, but who knows?
No, I do think they'll eventually be in. I don't necessarily think it'll.
You don't think they're coming soon?
I would be very shocked if it's
as
a
secondary
1 or 2 or yeah.
I would guess more of a holiday update kind of thing. Like by the end of the year, I could see having another faction. I think people are gonna. I think that's a conversation potentially for another day. But like, I think people will probably want another different type of enemy to fight sooner rather than later.
I'll have a better prediction about this once they talk about post-launch content, and because we still don't know what cadence they're doing, so it's like who the hell knows? Yeah.
True.
Okay.
Yeah, who knows the length between seasons or whatever.
Yeah. Good marathon minute. Thanks for watching. Find us on Substack and Yahoo Answers and
Quora.
What's that one that guy likes?
Pocket Casts.
There's
a surprising number of Pocket Casts.
We gotta just get his name, man. We gotta get their name.
Well, that's the thing. There are multiple people who are like, I am the Pocket Cast guy. It's like Spartacus in there at this point. That's a reference for
That's
old
the next faction. That's the next faction.
There you go.
Pocket Cast.
100%. Yeah, it's the Pocket Casters. Yeah, actually,
the Pocket Casters, bro.
Oh my God. Holy shit. That's the title of the episode right there. But the reviews on the podcast websites have been great so far. We're like at like 4.8 or something. Some people have written
hell yeah
written reviews, which are very sweet. Thank you for
click
doing
on the
that.
links in
Please
the
keep doing
comments.
that.
Yes, leave a review, 5-star. Tell people that we should be the ambassadors to Greenlandathon when it becomes a spaceship. And yeah, good stuff.
That art was sick.
That was sick.
Thank
yeah,
you.
keep
you
sending
gotta
us.
include that. You gotta include that in here and link to.
Yeah,
my
I'll
stuff.
I'll show it. I'll make a
Yes.
note. Let me art and yeah, look at your screen right now because it's sick. More fan art is always appreciated. If someone wants to do the Gundam using the marathon as the sword, that'd be freaking sick. And
oh hell yeah.
yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
It comes from Carl T. Carmen Reverdex on Twitter is the one who sent us the sweet Greenland.
Carl.
Nice.
Sweet Carl T. Carmen.
Yeah, he's sick.
Revered EDX.
Let's go.
I totally butchered your name, but thank you. That was dope.
Cool. All right, plug yourselves.
I'm Aztec Ross on YouTube and Twitch.
Dude, bro, that guy already gets all the views. He doesn't need any help. He talks nothing but shit about Marathon for 2 years and he still's the most viewed Marathon channel, okay? He doesn't need the help.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
thank you. All right, Ryan.
Rogue.site is the website where I do all my stuff. I just wrote a thing about Eugenics, that game from Super Meat Boy people that came out today, so go read about that. And a bunch of other stuff that we're doing over there. Also, I like a channel called Jake the Alright that you should check out as well after you're done checking out Aztec Ross's channel.
There you go. Boom. All right, subscribe. I'm wearing an Era hoodie. They released a new song last week. It's fucking sick, so you should listen to it, everyone. And JT, the main screamy boy for this band, loves Destiny. Huge Destiny guy.
Oh,
so
really?
That's sick. So, all right, everyone, have a fantastic day. We'll see you in episode 5, and maybe there will be a state of play next week. We'll see. It's been Escape Will Make Us Pod, or you pod, or me pod. There you go. Sorry.
We got there.